knows how you come across somebody once in a while you shouldn't have messed with? That's me.
I am not an African American.
You're Oreo cookie, white in the inside and black on the outside.
I don't have an afro, I have an Amerifro.
Talking that idiotic stuff you talk about, I will slap you.
Go ahead, make my day.
Black as the ace of spades, but 100% American.
Heard around the world by everybody and their mama. The Jesse Lee Peterson Radio Show.
Uniting the races with truth instead of dividing them with lies. We're also rebuilding the family by rebuilding the man. I am Jesse Lee Peterson. Good morning and welcome to the show. I have with me another smart man, Robert Spencer. He is the founder of the blog Jihad Watch and the author of a brand new book, Did Muhammad Exist? I'm going to have Robert explain to you all this. This is very, very interesting. Robert has been studying Islamic theology for over 30 years, and he's also the best-selling author of The Politically Incorrect Guide to Islam. His life, of course, he would be threatened, even in America, but he's a brave man and willing to stand up for what is right. This is my first time meeting Robert, but reading this, it just made me respect him. Robert, welcome to the show, sir.
Hey, thank you so much for having me on.
I got to ask this first. How did you come up with the idea of, let me study to see if Muhammad exists? Were you walking down the road and a cherry fell off a cherry tree or something?
I know it seems outlandish. Most people just take for granted that he was a real guy, and of course some people think he was a prophet, and some people think he was somebody going around claiming to be a prophet, but very few people actually doubt that he was there. But what happened was I wrote a biography of Muhammad in 2006, a book called The Truth About Muhammad. And while I was researching that, I wanted to go back to the earliest Islamic sources and see what they said about what Muhammad said and did. And as I did that, I saw that there really aren't a whole lot of very early ones, that most of what we know about Muhammad comes from things that were written over 150 years after he died, or supposed to have died. And so there's this very big gap, and I started to see there's not a whole lot of historical accuracy or reliability to these stories about Muhammad that people take for granted. And so I wanted to revisit that, and that's what this book is all about.
That's amazing. I read in your book that the first mention of a text of the Quran, which is a quote-unquote Muslim holy book, happened back in 691, which was 80 years after Muhammad had supposedly dedicated the book.
Yeah, he got his first revelation, supposedly, of the Quran in the year 610. And by 632, when he died, it was supposed to be all finished. And the Muslims, or the Arabs, started to conquer the Middle East and North Africa and Persia, and they amassed this huge empire. And yet it's a very funny thing. Nobody mentions the Quran or Muhammad or Islam in all that time between 632 when Muhammad's supposed to have died and the Arabs start conquering, and 691 when we first start getting Quran quotes in the inscriptions in the Dome of the Rock, the big mosque that's on the Temple Mount in Jerusalem.
So how did this idea of a Muhammad come about? How did that happen then?
Well, what it seems happen is Muhammad is a title. And that's how it was used originally. The word means the praised one. And it seems to have been a title that was applied to Jesus and to other people. And then what happened was, as I was saying, they had this huge empire that the Arabs had amassed. Now, in those days, this was before the idea that you had a single constitution and that would bind together the nation like we have, or you had, and there was also in those days no real idea of a nation being made up of a people of a certain particular ethnicity or nationality. The two great powers of the day were the Byzantine Empire and the Persian Empire, and they were held together not by nationality or political philosophy, but by religion. The Byzantines were Christians, the Persians were Zoroastrians. The Arabs started to amass this huge empire, and they invented Islam starting in the 690s and picking up especially in the 700s and beyond to explain, to hold together their empire, to unify it, and to give it something that would make it stronger. And that's why Islam is martial and belligerent and so on.
That is amazing to me. Just so the folks who are simple-minded as I am, I think that's the right word, there has never been a person as far as you can tell, that was called Muhammad, and he created this Muslim or Islamic religion?
Well, see, that's the big gap. We're supposed to believe, we've been told all these years, that Muhammad got this new book, this holy book, and this new religion, and that the Arabs came out and conquered based on what he taught. But there isn't anything there. When you look at the first 60 years of the conquest, from the 630s to the 690s, the people who were conquered, they left some records. They wrote about what happened. They said that these people came and conquered us and laid waste and caused havoc and did all these things. And they never called them Muslims. They called them Saracens or Tayyeh or Hagarenes or Ishmaelites, various words like that. But they never called them Muslims or give any hint that they came with a new religion or a holy book, which is really weird if the new religion and holy book and prophet were all supposed to be the reasons why they were conquering in the first place.
Right.
But there's nothing. And not only that, but the conquerors, the people, the new Arab conquerors, they minted coins for their people, and they built buildings and that kind of thing. And in none of their official inscriptions or writings or on their coins did they ever mention Muhammad or Quran or Islam either.
And I'm sorry, what's on their coins? What did they have on there?
Well, one of the weird things is, I just said they don't mention Muhammad, but actually there are some coins, and I have them in the book, pictures of them, that do say Muhammad on them, but we know they're not talking about the Prophet of Islam, and that's because also on the same coin, it's got a picture of a ruler, and pictures are forbidden in Islam, and the ruler is holding a cross, and the cross is something that Islam especially hates. And so there's just no way that that coin could be referring to Muhammad, the Prophet of Islam, who's supposed to have said that Jesus will come back at the end of the world and break all the crosses.
Well, how did this idea of going to Mecca, you know how every year they all go over to Mecca in order to I guess, pray or whatever they do there? If Muhammad didn't start that, how did that come about?
Well, that actually predates Islam. There was a shrine there way before Islam started. And people used to make pilgrimages there. And what the Muslims did was just take it over and make it into an Islamic pilgrimage. But it was there before that. But see, that's actually another thing. Because although there was a pilgrimage site there, one of the main parts of the story of Muhammad is that Mecca, where he was born and grew up, supposedly, was a great trading center where people used to pass through all the time on their way between Europe and Asia. And that has a whole lot to do with the story of Muhammad, because the people who lived there, the Quraysh, they thought that he was threatening their trade, because a lot of the people would come for the pilgrimage as well, and they would worship their gods there. And he was saying there was only one God.
888-7753-773.